Well, I'm excited to share with you this chess game I played with my uncle. This was in the Philippines, and I wanted to show you some basic things that anybody can benefit from in a game of chess, anywhere from beginners to advanced players. I'm playing the white pieces, and there's my uncle playing the black pieces. Putting two pawns to control the middle is very important in a chess game. After you put two pawns in the middle, you need to get out your knights and your bishops to develop a good position to attack from. You cannot attack your enemy's pieces, unless your pieces are off of that back rank. That back row back there, you need to get your pieces out. So there we go, I got two knights out, and my uncle has a knight and a bishop out. Now, I get out my bishop. The next thing to do, after you get out your pieces, is you got to get your king in a safe place. So I got two knights out, and then a bishop out. My uncle, I think this is a weak move because it doesn't do anything to get out your pieces and get your king in a safe place. That is the objective of the opening, of the beginning part of the game, which is very important. Then I put another pawn in the middle. Now my uncle is in an interesting situation. If he takes his knight out, which he does right there, I can attack it right away by pushing the pawn in the middle. Now my uncle right here is accusing me of having a computer in my camera that's telling me the moves. I do not have a computer in my camera. Okay, what I did is I castled. I put my king, you can move your king 2 squares to either side and put the rook on the other side of the king on the square right next to it. That's called castling, and that is a legal move. There I put my king in a nice safe place. There he is joking, thinking that I have a computer in my camera. Alright, so my uncle has a queen, 2 knights out, and a bishop. I have 2 knights out, a bishop, but my king is in a safe place. His king is gonna be in danger soon once I open up some files. How do you open up files? Well, you have to get one of your pawns out of the way. Here's an important part of the game. Notice how he has 2 knights in my half of the board. My half of the board are the first 4 rows. Now when his pieces start to get into my half of the board, I become very cautious, and I want to get him out of that half of the board because I don't want to be attacked or tricked. There he goes. He takes my bishop. I'll gladly give him my bishop for his knight. My bishop was not doing anything and was not going anywhere because I put my pawns on the same color squares as my bishop. It's called a bad bishop. Try not to have bad bishops. And if your opponent wants to take your bad bishop, trade it off for his knight, let him do so. Okay, now I have my queen off the back rank. The problem with my position is that, see my bishop on the back there, next to the rook? That bishop is in the way of my 2 rooks protecting each other. You want to connect your rooks on the back rank. My uncle puts a knight to the side of the board right there. Normally that's a bad move, but in this situation, it's going to hop into my territory, attack my queen, my rook, and my king, all in the same move. It's called a knight fork, and this is going to be a 3-way fork. Okay, what happened there was I moved my king up to protect that square, to protect the knight from hopping in, and then he played pawn takes pawn. I didn't record that on my camera. Alright, now I'm moving forward. The knight is now attacking the queen. Put the question to the queen. Where does it want to go? Okay, it goes up there. And now, see how my queen is pointing straight at that king? I'm going to use that to my advantage. The knight goes and hops in there into enemy territory, protected by a pawn. Now if his bishop takes my knight, I'm going to play pawn takes bishop, and then the queen is going to be giving check to the king. It's going to open up his king. That's how you're going to open up files. You're going to get your pawns out of the way. Now here's an important part. My uncle tried to castle out of check. I don't blame him for trying, but that is an illegal move. You cannot castle out of check. Now if you didn't know the rules of the game, then your opponent would be able to castle out of check, but I happen to know the rules of the game, and that is an illegal move. So he cannot go to his right. He's going to go to the f8 square to protect the f7 pawn. Yes, that's the best square. That's the f8 square, and that protects the pawn in front of the king, but it didn't protect that pawn. So now I captured a pawn back. We both have one pawn each, but I like my position better. Notice how my rook on f1 is pointing straight at the king. My pieces are working together, trying to work its way into enemy territory. Okay, what happened there was bishop takes knight, and then I'm going to play knight takes bishop. I still like my rook. My rook is on a half open file. That means I don't have a pawn in the way. There's an enemy pawn there on f7. He played g6, protecting his, or giving a flight square. I pushed my pawn and then made the knight go back. Now his knight has nowhere to go except for e8, which is not a good square. And here comes my rook. Rook to f6. It looks like a good move. The computer says it's a pretty good move, but you're gonna see what he does that made me start to worry. Okay, see, he takes his pawn. That attacks my rook on b1. See that rook there? That's another reason why you want your rooks connected, because you want them protecting towards each other. But here, knight takes on g6. Knight takes that pawn, and the pawn cannot take the knight because it would put his king in check. You cannot allow your king to get in check, and if it does get in check, you have to move somewhere else. So he had to move, and there's a check again, and now I am just planted in enemy territory. I'm planted in there. I have my pawn supporting my rook and my knight in there. So I have a nice attacking position. The only thing is that I made this weak move. That was the worst move of the game. Queen to f2, because that hung my knight. King takes knight, and that is free. See? I thought I can take that pawn on f7. But it's actually protected by that queen there on a2. I can't take that because queens move backwards. So what do I do now? I ponder and I ponder. I'm now in a losing position. I was too comfortable with my position and I blew it. So this is my attempt to save myself. I played pawn up there, and then he played knight takes pawn. But now I can play rook takes f7 and start attacking, hopefully get lucky to win this game. Rook takes f7, that is check to the king. When you're in check, you have to move out of check. Now, that's the worst place. He moved straight back, that's the worst place for the king. I got lucky. Queen f6 right there, and now my queen is going to go right in front of the king to the e7 square. That's going to be a checkmate, and there's no way for him to stop my queen going there for checkmate. So there you go. I hope you learned something. Thanks for watching.